On the swaying tentacles of a sea anemone, there is a very strict social order. A large, dominant female clownfish rules, and she mates with only one smaller, functional male. The other clownfish living there are even smaller, non-functional males waiting in line. But what happens if the queen disappears? The hierarchy doesn't just shift, it fundamentally rewrites itself. The largest functional male doesn't find a new female, he becomes her. His body begins a profound transformation, altering his anatomy and physiology from the inside out. This isn't an anomaly. It's a strategy called sequential hermaphrodism. The core logic behind it is something called the size advantage model. For many species, reproductive success is tied directly to size, but differently for each sex. For a clownfish, a large female can produce vastly more eggs than a small one. However, a small male can produce more than enough sperm to fertilize them. The most efficient way to maximize your lifetime offspring is to be a male when you're small, and then, when you've grown large enough, become a highly productive female. It's a biological loophole that maximizes genetic legacy. The change is triggered not by choice, but by chemistry. The primary driver is an enzyme called aromatase. Aromatase converts androgens, which are hormones associated with male characteristics, into estrogens, hormones associated with female characteristics. In the brain and gonads of these fish, social cues, like the absence of a dominant fish, can upregulate the gene that produces this enzyme. The result is a hormonal cascade. The testes begin to shrink, and ovarian tissue, which was dormant and undeveloped, activates and grows. The fish is, quite literally, replumbing its own body. This male-to-female switch, seen in clownfish, is called protandry. But the opposite is just as common, and perhaps even more dramatic. Consider the bluehead wrasse. They live in large social groups called harems, with one large, brightly colored male defending a territory of smaller females. If that dominant male is removed from the reef, within minutes, the largest female begins to change. Her behavior becomes more aggressive, and over the next week or so, her colors shift, her ovaries dissolve, and functional testes develop. This female-to-male transition is called protogeny, and it ensures the harem always has a dominant male to protect it. The most fascinating part is that the trigger is purely social. The presence of the dominant fish chemically suppresses the change in all the others. It's a form of physiological bullying. The dominant individual's constant visual and chemical presence sends signals to the brains of subordinates, which keeps their aromatase gene expression in check. Remove that signal, and the molecular floodgates open for the next in line. It's a system where the social environment directly and profoundly controls an individual's biological destiny, down to the cellular level. Your social status literally defines your sex. But what if the change isn't a one-way street? For some species, it isn't. Certain types of goby fish, which live in pairs in small patches of coral, can change sex back and forth. If two male gobies find themselves together, one will change into a female. If two females end up together, one becomes male. But even more remarkably, if the pair is disrupted and a fish finds itself with a new partner of the same sex, it can change back again. This bidirectional ability demonstrates an incredible level of physiological plasticity. It's less of a switch and more of a slider, constantly adjusting to the immediate social context. Underlying all of this is a critical point. The fish aren't changing their fundamental chromosomes. A fish doesn't swap an X for a Y chromosome. Instead, sex determination in many of these species is controlled by gene expression. The genes for both male and female development are often present in every individual. The switch is about which set of genes gets turned on or off. The gene CYP19A1A, which codes for aromatase, is a master regulator in this process. Social cues act as the finger that flips this genetic light switch, illuminating one developmental pathway while leaving the other dark. This profound biological adaptability naturally makes us wonder about our own biology. Why can't humans do this? The answer lies in developmental investment. Mammalian sexual differentiation is an incredibly complex, front-loaded process that happens in the womb, creating specialized structures that are not designed to be reversible. To unbake that biological cake would be physiologically monumental. For a species that relies on long-term investment in a few offspring rather than producing thousands, there was never an evolutionary pressure to develop such a trait. It serves as a powerful reminder that gender and sex in the natural world are not a simple binary. They are a library of diverse and ingenious strategies for the singular goal of continuing life. Monotony has grown fast. Nearly 2,700 people have watched in the last few weeks, yet less than 0.03% are subscribed. It would mean a lot if you joined by hitting subscribe. And again, thanks for watching.